Like, since he's been in Dallas, he's like remade his image. He went there with a negative image. Yeah. And I think since he's been there, he's actually kind of been, seems like one of the more beloved players in the league. Not just by other players have always loved him because of his game, but I just think among the fan base, his image has really gotten a nice
just
change.
Before we get to the other stuff, I just want to echo that.
Yep.
Like this, Kyrie went from on the court being a great player and off the court like, man, you're going to have to deal with it, to like a mature voice of reason, like gave I thought the most thoughtful responses to the Luka trade, a true leader.
Yep.
I don't want to say overnight, but the moment he got to the Mavs, all of the non-basketball Kyrie stuff has been great, which is a transformation from what with Brooklyn. So because I've been very critical of him, so I want to give him credit.
Absolutely. And look, did money or the contract, the fact that he didn't get this huge max deal, he got good money, but did that play a role? Maybe, I don't know. But I brought that up because this really, like, it's unfortunate. He didn't get that big max deal with the Mavericks. Yeah. And he was in line this summer. They had to give him a max after trading Luka. And now he had an opt-out. I'm guessing now $43 million is the opt. He'll probably opt into that and then see what happens next year and whether they give him a long-term contract after that. But I don't know. I don't think he can opt out and then they give him this deal. Dr. David Chow, who we all know, he's a former NFL physician. Now he does stuff online. He just said, he texted me, reviewing the tape. He's out this season. He says he could be out next season, or at least a large part. He said it's possible.
I think even
he said at least a large part of next season.
ACLs are usually 9 to 12 months for NBA guys.
Yeah.
So I think next season's really in jeopardy.
Right, and he turns 33, I think, next week.
Yeah.
So his age, the injury, he may never get that next huge contract. Also, they were in line. It looked like they had a decent shot at maybe getting Kevin Durant this summer in a trade.
This is all true.
How does that get affected for this? And finally, I'll say this. This just magnifies how bad the Luka trade was.
Of course.
Because I said it, remember that next day, they got 2 years to win a championship. Now, I get to the finals, they did that. Win a championship because AD is going to be 32 this month. Kyrie's going to be 33, and both are injury prone. Both of them. So, and obviously they're both hurt right now. So is much of the team. But now this year is obviously gone. Next year is probably gone.
And the window, and Nico said the window was 3 to 4 years. Listen, I'm devastated for Kyrie, the person and the player. I had been, up until his Mavs tenure, a very vocal Kyrie critic. I thought that his play on the court was maybe a little overrated by some because it was so almost hypnotizing, the eye test. And I thought off the court, the juice wasn't always worth the squeeze with just and he has just been, I think, on the court, some of his best basketball, and off the court, as mature and smart and thoughtful of a voice as he's grown up and all of it. And he was going to get the max because they had no choice.
Oh, yeah.
And by the way, I'm not certain he's going to opt in. I think they might be in such a weird spot, he opts out and still gets a multi-year deal, just not the max.
Yeah.
But regardless, the fact of the matter is this. Kyrie Irving leads the league in minutes the last 6 weeks. Kyrie Irving leads the league in minutes since the Luka trade. When you traded Luka Doncic, a team that the position it had the most depth at was big, with very little creators. I know Lively was hurt, but Gafford and Lively there already. Kleba coming back at some point for a big and got rid of Luka. It was saying, Kyrie Irving, hey, we have Klay Thompson there who's catch and shoot. You have to create everything. Yep. And so the team couldn't sustain any minutes without him, so he had to play all these minutes. I don't know if that's why he got hurt. I'm, though, always of a big believer that the more minutes you play, the more likely it is you'll get hurt, especially an aging player who's dealt with injuries, dealt with knee stuff. And now the verdict is now in. It is a calamity of historic proportions, this trade. What was done to the Mavs fan base for no reason whatsoever 30 days ago is the likes of which franchises often never recover from. The Mavs fans went to bed on January 31st saying, all right, our window's probably the next 10 to 12 years is our window. And, Kyrie's playing well,
absolutely.
Luke is coming back. And they wake up 30 days later and they don't have their own draft pick, 27, 28, 29, or 30. Shams, an hour ago, said Anthony Davis might shut it down for the year at this point. Yep. Kyrie
Probably
is
should.
likely not playing again until this time in 2026 at the earliest. And the window's closed. Your own GM said it was 3 to 4 years. Year one is done. Year two is probably done. And then you have lesser returns. You have an undersized player dealing with an injury who at that point is 34 years old, 35 years old. So listen, we're going to see if AD does come back, it's just AD as a Pelican again. Just AD with an odd roster where he has to do everything. Yeah. And so this is devastating for Kyrie and devastating for Mavs fans. And honest to God, Wilds, if it wasn't for the fact that Patrick Dumont came out and gave real voice, like we had to get rid of Luka, he doesn't have the work ethic of Charles Barkley or the sobriety of Larry Bird, I would think this is the type of thing where they might just fire the GM at the end of the year, but the owners seem to sign off on it. But it's just imploding a team for no reason, and the idea that's like it's bad luck. It was the day after the trade we talked about Anthony Davis and Kyrie being injury risks.
And their age.
And their age and injury risks.
Look, it's probably going to go down as the worst trade in NBA history, especially with the way Luka and LeBron are looking. And then even when LeBron's gone, Luka's going to be there at the height of his powers. Like, this is terrible.
Before we go, do you put any of this, like when you have to figure out when things went sideways, you can say obviously the trade. Do you think that Cuban selling the team is like the moment that things just kind of broke
I think it
apart?
has a lot to do with it.
That I know he was kind of involved still, but it felt like he was the guy, and then he was
Luka would be there if Cuban's still on the team. And I don't blame Cuban. He can do what he wants. But you blame him for selling the team? I mean, that's his prerogative.
No, I know it's his prerogative, but he turned the lowly Mavs when I was growing up into the world champion Mavs, and it felt like a real point of pride for him. He turns around, makes a move, and then the whole thing crumbles.
Yeah,
I just think it must be strange for him to watch. They were set up perfectly. Yep. And then to be in the finals, that was him.
Yeah, so I agree none of this happens without Cuban. But even if Mark Cuban had given the team away to the 100th contestant on Shark Tank, he wouldn't have thought within a year Luka Doncic would be a Laker.
Right. Yeah, but that's what
No, but the thing is, it's not when Cuban sold the team, it was certainly on the board, man. Ownership might be cheap. Might not want to pay the luxury tax. Might raise prices for the fans. I don't think it's a realistic thing. Like if the Hunts family sold the Chiefs, I would be worried about a lot of things. Like, are they going to out of nowhere trade Patrick Mahomes? Would not be one of my worries.
Right.
Because it never happened. You know what I mean? I don't think it's fair to worry about things that have never happened.
You would not think.
You would worry about a lot of stuff, but
the bottom line is this: even if what they're saying about Luka is true, he's 25 years old. You just bank on he's going to mature. And the fact, like numbers, and they were getting bounced in the first round, or maybe not even making the playoffs. They were winning.
If his trajectory was with respect, Trae Young's, who he was traded for in the draft,
I was actually thinking
one playoff run that felt a little fluky, and and then a lot of up and down years, whatever. Then I'll listen to it. Yeah. You just came off you're the defending conference champions, and this was not hard to foresee happening. Anthony Davis, who was injured when he got there, getting injured again, and Kyrie then being asked to do too much. Now, nobody would have thought